The Galactic Council chamber was filled with strange sounds as 47 different alien species talked to each other through their translation devices. Ambassador Thexan, a tall insect-like creature from the dry desert planet Crix 9, touched his claw on the black table to get everyone's attention. "We have a new species asking to join us," Thexan said. His clicking sounds turned into words through the translator. "They call themselves humans. They come from a planet called Earth." Scientist Velmara, who looked like a large frog with 3 eyes, opened the file about Earth on the hologram projector. When the image appeared above the table, all 3 of her eyes went wide with shock. "This must be wrong," she said in a quiet, scared voice. The planet spinning in front of them was blue. Not just a little blue but almost completely blue. It was covered in water. "Water covers 71% of the surface," Velmara read from the data. Her voice was shaking. "The oceans go down 11,000 meters deep. There are huge storms that move across the water." Every alien in the room gasped at the same time. Commander Zarkin, a big reptile creature from the Rocky Mountains of Drax, jumped up from his seat. His scales changed to a dark, worried color. "That is a death world," Zarkin said loudly. "No intelligent species has ever come from such a dangerous place." Thexan pressed some buttons and brought up old records on the screens around the room. The information showed that every single smart species in the galaxy had come from dry planets. Planets with land. Safe planets. Water was something to keep in small containers, never to be trusted when there was too much of it. "My people grew up in desert canyons," Thexan explained to the group. "When we see deep water, our bodies tell us to run away. We feel panic. We cannot think clearly. It is in our blood to fear it." Velmara nodded her head in agreement. "My ancestors came from small, shallow pools. Water that was only as deep as our bodies. The idea of water that goes beyond what we can see, water above us and below us, it makes us feel sick and scared." "Every civilization in this council agrees," Zarkin said, showing military records. "We have marked water worlds as places where no one can live. We tried to build colonies on them before, but every attempt failed. Our people could not handle the fear. The water was too much for their minds." The hologram of Earth kept turning slowly. The huge oceans covered almost everything. The pieces of land looked small and unimportant. Giant storms spun across the blue water. Deep trenches in the ocean floor looked like dark, bottomless holes. "How could any intelligent life grow up there?" Velmara asked, looking confused and scared. "The dangerous creatures in the water, the risk of drowning, being completely helpless in water." "Maybe they stayed on the land," suggested Kelix, a young researcher with fur from an ice planet. "Maybe they just stay away from the water." Thexan opened the human request files and started reading. "They sent us information about their species. Let me check where their people live." He stopped talking suddenly. His antennae became very stiff. 80% of humans live within 100 kilometers of the ocean shores." "What?" Zarkin leaned forward in shock. "That is crazy. They choose to live next to the most dangerous places on their planet?" "There is more information here," Velmara said, reading the biological data. "Earth's life assessment shows that about 80% of all living things on Earth live in the oceans. The water zones are not empty death zones. They are full of life." Nobody in the council chamber made a sound. This was completely different from everything they knew about planets and life. Thexan finally spoke. "We must be very careful. A species that grew up in such terrible conditions might think in ways we cannot understand. But we cannot say no to meeting them just because we are afraid." Velmara agreed slowly. "I think we should invite a small group of humans to our neutral meeting station. We will use all our safety rules. We will watch how they act, see if they are dangerous, and learn about their relationship with water." "Yes, I agree," Zarkin said, though his scales were still dark with worry. "But we should be ready for anything. A species that can survive on a death world must be very strong or very dangerous." "Or both," Thexan said quietly. The council voted and everyone agreed to send a careful invitation to the humans. When the meeting ended, each council member went to their private computers and looked up information about their own species' fear of water. They read about panic attacks, nightmares about drowning, and ancient fear that was coded into their genes. Velmara stayed in the chamber after everyone else left. She stared at the hologram of Earth. The blue planet spun peacefully. Its oceans were so big and so deep. "What kind of species," she whispered to herself, "can survive in a living nightmare?" The end of part 1. 60 cycles later, the neutral space station Crosspoint Alpha received an incoming signal. The human ship was approaching. Commander Zarkin watched from the observation deck as the vessel came into view. His scales rippled with nervous energy. By the ancient suns, he whispered. The human transport ship was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Through the transparent sections of the hull they could see water. Actual water. Sloshing around inside the ship as it moved through space. They are traveling in water, Vilmara said, her 3 eyes blinking rapidly in disbelief. They voluntarily surrounded themselves with water during space travel. Ambassador Thexan's antennae drooped. This confirms our worst fears. They are not just tolerant of water. They seem to prefer it. The human delegation arrived through the docking tube. Leading them was Ambassador Jaiwu, a small female human with dark hair tied back neatly. Behind her walked Lieutenant Miho, a tall male in a blue uniform, and Dr. Hannah, a female scientist carrying several containers. Greetings, Jaiwu said, bowing slightly. We are honored to meet the Galactic Council. Thexan stepped forward carefully. Welcome, humans. We have prepared quarters for you. All safety protocols have been followed. Thank you, Jaiwu smiled. We brought some items from Earth to share our culture with you. Dr. Hannah placed the containers on a table. One of them was transparent and filled with clear liquid. Several small aliens in the room stepped backward immediately. This is water from Earth's Pacific Ocean, Hannah explained cheerfully. We thought you might want to study it. Vilmara's skin turned pale. You brought Death World water onto the station? Hannah looked confused. It is just salt water. Completely normal for us. Normal. Kellex squeaked from the back of the room. That substance has killed more of our ancestors than any predator. Miho tilted his head. I am sorry, but I do not understand. Water is essential for life. Our bodies are 60% water. A shocked silence filled the room. Zarkin's claws scraped against the floor. Your bodies contain that much water? Inside you. Yes, Jaiwu answered, now realizing the cultural gap was much bigger than expected. All Earth life needs water to survive. We drink it every day. She pulled out a small bottle from her bag and opened it. Before anyone could react, she tilted it back and drank the water inside. 2 council members fainted immediately. Kellex made a choking sound and ran from the room. Vilmara grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. You consumed it, Thexan stammered. You put that liquid inside your body on purpose. Several times a day, Miho added helpfully. Humans need about 2 liters of water daily to stay healthy. Zarkin was breathing heavily. This is beyond anything we imagined. How do you not drown? Drown? Jaiwa looked at her team, confused. We only drown if water goes into our lungs while we are submerged. Drinking water goes to our stomach. Submerged? Vilmara repeated weakly. You have been submerged in water? Of course, Hannah said. Swimming is a very popular activity on Earth. Most humans learn to swim as children. Swimming? Thexan asked. What is swimming? Miho smiled. Moving through water using our arms and legs. We go to oceans and lakes for fun. Some humans surf on top of waves. Others dive deep under the water to explore. For fun, Zarkin repeated in disbelief. You enter the nightmare voluntarily for entertainment. We do not see it as a nightmare, Jaiwu explained gently. Water is beautiful. Peaceful. Many humans find it relaxing. Thexan accessed his data tablet with shaking claws. Your file mentions recreational activities. I see now what they mean. Surfing, diving, snorkeling, swimming. There are hundreds of water sports listed. Yes, Jaiwu nodded. Humans have always had a special connection with water. We build cities near it. We travel across it. We explore beneath it. Beneath it. Vilmara felt dizzy. How deep? The record for human free diving is over 200 meters, Hannah said proudly. That means holding your breath and swimming down without any equipment. Holding your breath? Kellex had returned to the doorway, listening carefully but staying far back. Yes. We can stop breathing for several minutes, Miho demonstrated by taking a deep breath and puffing out his cheeks. Then we swim underwater. The concept was absolutely alien to every species present. Their evolutionary panic responses would never allow such a thing. Even thinking about it made their bodies react with fear. There is more you should know, Jaiwu said carefully. Earth's oceans contain incredible diversity. Millions of species live there. Some humans dedicate their entire lives to studying ocean life. Zarkin sat down heavily. We classified your world as uninhabitable. We were going to offer you relocation to a safer planet. Jaiwu laughed softly. Thank you, but Earth is our home. We would not want to live anywhere else. Thexan looked at the humans with new eyes. These beings were not just survivors of a death world. They thrived in it. They loved it. They celebrated the very thing that gave every other species nightmares. Perhaps, Thexan said slowly, we have much to learn from each other. The end of Part 2. 3 months after the first meeting, an emergency signal flashed across every council member's communication device. Velmara's hands shook as she read the message. Her people, a colony of 10,000 on the planet Kepler 442b, were in terrible danger. The terraforming equipment has failed, she announced to the emergency council session. Her voice cracked with emotion. The artificial platforms are sinking. The water levels are rising faster than predicted. Kepler 442b was a water world. Velmara's species had tried to terraform it, building massive floating platforms above the ocean. The plan was to slowly create land. But something went wrong. How long do they have? Zarkin asked. 3 weeks at most, Velmara said. The storms are getting worse. The platforms cannot hold much longer. Thexan pulled up rescue protocols on the holographic display. He reviewed option after option. His antennae drooped lower with each passing moment. Our ships cannot land on water, he said finally. Every species here uses solid ground for takeoff and landing. The storm systems make aerial extraction impossible. The winds would tear our ships apart. What about emergency pods? Kellic suggested desperately. The ocean is too violent, Zarkin explained. Any pod that touches the water would sink or be crushed by waves. We have no equipment designed for water operations. The council chamber fell into heavy silence. Every member knew what this meant. 10,000 people would die because no species in the galaxy could function in water. We could send supplies, someone suggested weakly. The platforms are breaking apart, Velmara said, tears streaming down her face. Supplies will not matter when there is no ground to stand on. Ambassador Jaiwu had been sitting quietly in the observer section. She stood up. We can help, she said clearly. Every eye turned to her. Humans can operate in water, Jaiwu continued. We have ships designed for ocean rescue. We have trained personnel. If you permit us, we can evacuate your colony. Thexan looked at her with desperate hope. You would do this? Risk your people in those conditions. Those conditions are normal for us, Jaiwu said simply. We train for ocean rescue operations. This is what we do. Velmara grabbed Jaiwu's hands. Please save them. 5 days later, human naval vessels arrived at Kepler 442b. The alien colonists watched from their crumbling platforms as strange ships descended. These vessels did not avoid the water. They landed directly on it, floating on the violent waves like they belonged there. Submarines surfaced near the platforms. Humans in waterproof suits dove into the churning ocean without hesitation. They swam through waves that would terrify any other species, moving with confidence and skill. Lieutenant Miho coordinated the rescue from the command ship. Team 1 secure the eastern platform. Team 2 begin evacuating the medical facility. Human swimmers attached rescue lines to the platforms. Others operated small boats that rode over waves taller than buildings. They moved through the chaos as if it were just another day at work. Why are they not afraid? One colonist asked Velmara through the communication link. Because they are human, Velmara whispered in awe. The rescue took 12 days. Human teams worked around the clock, pulling colonists from sinking platforms. They dove underwater to retrieve supplies. They swam through storms to reach stranded groups. Young human crew members played in the water during breaks, splashing and laughing, which horrified the watching aliens. On the final day, Dr. Hannah was among the last to leave. She checked every platform one more time, swimming beneath them to ensure no one was left behind. A massive wave crashed over her. The aliens watching screamed, certain she had drowned. But Hannah surfaced moments later, shaking water from her hair and waving that she was fine. All 10,000 colonists were saved. Not a single life was lost. The human fleet prepared to depart. Velmara stood on the deck of the human carrier ship, looking at the ocean that had nearly killed her people. Human children ran past her, excited to swim in the ship's recreation pool. You saved us, Velmara said to Jaiwu. You went into the nightmare and saved us. Jaiwu smiled gently. It was not a nightmare for us. It was just water. Zarkin watched the rescue footage again and again. Humans diving fearlessly into violent seas. Humans swimming through conditions that would cause instant panic in any other species. Humans treating certain death as a normal working environment. They have an advantage, he said to Thexan. In environments we consider impossible, they are unstoppable. Thexan nodded slowly. The galaxy has thousands of water worlds. We have always ignored them, considered them worthless. But to humans? To humans they are opportunities, Zarkin finished. News of the rescue spread across the entire Galactic Council. The humans who came from the Death World had achieved the impossible. They had operated successfully in conditions that would kill any other species. The perspective on humanity began to shift. They were not just survivors. They were explorers of realms no one else dared to enter. The end of Part 3. 5 years after the Kepler 442b rescue, the galaxy looked very different. Human corporations had established operations on 37 water worlds that were previously marked as uninhabitable. Ambassador Jaiwu stood before the Galactic Council with a proposal that would change everything. These water worlds contain valuable resources, she explained, displaying holographic maps. Rare minerals in underwater mountains. Energy crystals in deep ocean trenches. Biological compounds from aquatic life. The galaxy has ignored 30% of all planets simply because they have water. Thexan studied the data carefully. These resources have been unreachable for millennia. How do humans access them? Underwater mining facilities, Jaiwu answered. A hologram showed a massive structure on the ocean floor, hundreds of meters below the surface. We build cities underwater. Humans live and work there for months at a time. Kellex made a choking sound. People live underwater? Constantly surrounded by that much water? Yes, Jaiwu nodded. It is quite comfortable once you adapt to it. Commander Zarkin had visited one of these facilities as an observer. He still had nightmares about it. I have seen these operations personally, he told the council. Humans work at depths that would crush our strongest vessels. They wear simple suits and move freely. We have safety protocols, Lieutenant Miho added. All workers are trained in deep-sea survival. Many are experienced free divers. Free divers? Belmar asked. She had learned much about humans but still found new surprises. Humans who dive deep on a single breath, Dr. Hanna explained. No breathing equipment. The current record is 214 meters deep. Some of our mining scouts are free divers who can work at incredible depths. The council members shifted uncomfortably. The idea of voluntarily going that deep underwater, holding your breath, was beyond comprehension. We have footage from our operations, Jaiwu said. The hologram changed to show human workers swimming through an underwater mining site. They moved gracefully through the water, inspecting equipment, gathering samples and communicating through hand signals. One video showed a human named Sujin swimming down a deep trench without any breathing equipment. The depth counter showed 150 meters. She collected crystal samples from the rock wall, placed them in a bag and swam back to the surface. The entire dive took 4 minutes. She held her breath for 4 minutes? Thexan asked in disbelief. Sujin is one of our best free divers, Miho said proudly. She trains daily. Many humans can hold their breath for 2 to 3 minutes with proper training. Zarkin pulled up economic data. Human water world operations have produced more rare minerals in 5 years than the entire galaxy collected in the last century. They have also discovered 17 new biological compounds with medical applications. The profits are shared with the Galactic Council, Jaiwu added. 30% of all resources go to the common fund. Everyone benefits from these operations. A vote was called. Should humans be granted exclusive rights to water world development? The answer was unanimous. No other species could or would compete for those territories anyway. But not everyone was happy. Some alien factions viewed human expansion with suspicion. They are taking over 30% of galactic territory, one delegate argued privately. What if they become too powerful? Velmara defended the humans publicly. They saved my people. They are unlocking resources that help everyone. Why should we fear them? Meanwhile, human scientists made another discovery on a water world called Abyss 7. Dr. Hanna was leading an underwater archaeology team when they found something impossible. These ruins are not natural, she reported to Jaiwu. Someone built structures on this ocean floor. But they are millions of years old. The underwater ruins were massive. Buildings designed for water, not air. Tunnels that went deeper than human equipment could follow. Art carved into stone that showed aquatic beings. An ancient civilization, Jaiwu whispered, studying the images. An intelligent species that lived underwater. Thexan reviewed the findings with growing excitement. We always assumed intelligence required land. But what if we were wrong? What if there were ancient aquatic civilizations that we never discovered because we could not explore their domains? Only humans can investigate these ruins, Velmara said. Only they can go deep enough to study them properly. Human archaeological teams deployed to Abyss 7. They discovered more ruins, cities, libraries, technology far beyond current galactic understanding. All of it underwater, preserved perfectly because no air-breathing species had ever found it. One day, a human archaeologist named Taeyang was exploring a deep trench when his equipment picked up something unexpected. A signal. Not old. Not ancient. Current. Command, I am reading active technology, Taeyang reported. Something is alive down here. Return to base immediately, Miho ordered. But before Taeyang could respond, something massive moved in the darkness below. Something that had been waiting. Something that had been watching the humans with great interest. The deep ocean trembled with sound. Not random noise. Language. Communication. Back at the council station, Jaiwu received an urgent message from Abyss 7. Her face went pale as she read it. What is wrong? Thexan asked. Jaiwu looked up, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. The water worlds are not empty. They were never empty. Something has been living in the deep oceans all along. Something intelligent. And it wants to talk. The end of part 4. The message from the deep ocean was clear and terrifying. An ancient species called themselves the Deep Ones. They had lived in the galaxy's water worlds for millions of years, deliberately avoiding contact with air-breathing species. They consider us ephemeral, Dr. Hannah translated from the complex signal patterns. Temporary. They live for thousands of years in the deep water. To them, species that breathe air are like insects with short lives. Ambassador Jaiwu stood before the Emergency Galactic Council session. The Deep Ones have been watching us this entire time. They saw every species avoid the water worlds. They thought no air breather would ever be worth their attention. Until humans arrived, Thexan said quietly. Exactly, Jaiwu nodded. They have been observing our underwater operations. They are impressed that we can function in their domain. They want to meet us. Commander Zarkin's scales darkened with worry. What do they want? Knowledge exchange, Jaiwu explained. They possess technology far beyond ours. Faster than light travel systems. Energy sources we cannot imagine. Medical treatments that could extend life by centuries. But they will only share it with species that can meet them in the water. Velmara understood immediately. They need intermediaries. Someone who can survive in water and communicate with air breathers. They need humans, Jaiwu confirmed. The Deep Ones proposed a summit meeting on Abyss 7, 3,000 meters below the ocean surface. The Galactic Council had to send representatives, but no species except humans could survive at that depth. We will drown, Kellic said, panic in his voice. Even with our best protective suits, the pressure and the water. We have a solution, Lieutenant Miho said. He displayed schematics for specialized environmental suits. These suits will maintain your atmospheric pressure and keep you completely dry inside. Humans will escort you down and ensure your safety. Thexan looked at the design carefully. You are asking us to trust you with our lives in the most terrifying environment possible. Yes, Jaiwu said simply. Just as Velmara's people trusted us during the rescue. After long debate, the council voted. They would attend the summit. Thexan, Velmara, Zarkin, and Kelix would represent the galaxy. All of them would have to enter the water. The day of the summit arrived. The alien delegates stood on the human submarine, wearing their protective suits. Through the windows, they watched the water grow darker as they descended. I cannot do this, Kelix whispered, shaking. My species has feared water for 10 million years. Every instinct tells me to flee. Human diver Sujin placed a gentle hand on his suit. I will be with you the entire time. I promise you are safe. At 3,000 meters, the submarine reached the meeting place. Ancient structures glowed with bioluminescent light. And there, waiting in the darkness, were the Deep Ones. They were massive. Beings of flowing tentacles and intelligent eyes, larger than any ship. They communicated through sound patterns that vibrated through the water. Dr. Hannah translated their words. Welcome, air breathers. Welcome, humans who dare the depths. The aliens exited the submarine in their protective suits, tethered to human divers. Thexan's entire body trembled with evolutionary fear, but he forced himself forward. Sujin swam beside him, moving with easy grace. You are the first of your kind to come here, the Deep One said to Thexan. Your courage honors you. The summit lasted 6 hours. The Deep Ones explained their history. They had seeded many worlds with life, including Earth's oceans, as an experiment to see if intelligence could evolve differently. We waited millions of years, the Deep One said. We hoped one species would emerge that could bridge our worlds. The humans are that bridge. They proposed the Leviathan Protocol. Humans would serve as intermediaries between the Deep Ones and the Galactic Council. Water worlds would become shared territories. The Deep Ones would share their technology in exchange for knowledge about the surface worlds. Why now? Zarkin asked. Why reveal yourselves after all this time? Because we were lonely, the Deep Ones answered. We watched civilizations rise and fall on dry worlds, always alone in our depths. When we saw humans swimming fearlessly through our domains, treating water as home, we felt hope. Finally, someone who could understand us. As the summit ended, something unexpected happened. Thexan asked his human escort to wait. He moved to the submarine window and looked out at the deep ocean. The fear was still there, coded into his genes. But now there was something else too. Wonder. It is beautiful, he whispered. I never knew it could be beautiful. Back at the Council Station, the Leviathan Protocol was ratified unanimously. Humans were granted authority over water world administration and deep ocean diplomacy. The Deep Ones began sharing their technology, advancing galactic civilization by centuries. But the most important change was cultural. Velmara started a program teaching young aliens about water safety in controlled environments. Brave volunteers, wearing protective suits, took their first swimming lessons from patient human instructors. In a specially designed pool, a young alien child floated safely in water for the first time in their species' history. A human child named Yunji held their hand, teaching them not to be afraid. See, Yunji said, smiling. Water is not scary. It is just different. Ambassador Jaiwu watched from the observation deck with Thexan beside her. Your people thought water worlds meant death, she said softly. We were wrong, Thexan replied. We let fear blind us to possibility. The water worlds were not dead. They were waiting. And you showed us how to find them. Jaiwu looked at the star maps displayed on the wall. Thousands of water worlds glowed blue across the galaxy. Each one held mysteries, resources, and maybe even life. What other impossible environments are out there? She wondered aloud. What else have we missed because we thought it was too dangerous? Thexan's antennae lifted in what humans had learned was his species' smile. With humans leading the way, I suppose we will find out. The end of Part 5.